Our story begins with a child waking up in a new body. He asks in confusion, "Where am I?" He sees a woman, his mother, or so he thinks, and wonders. "This isn't my mother, she was older, more beautiful, what is happening?" He checks his stats, level 1, rank F, no name. Nearby, he notices an older man, perhaps the emperor, his new father. The woman speaks, "He looks just like you." And so, the child is given a name, Noah, the 13th imperial prince. Even as a child, Noah understands everything. He thinks to himself, "Could it be that I have a great destiny?" The emperor announces Noah's first assignment. He will govern the city of Merah, home to the water tribe, because his stats show a strong affinity for water magic. To test his abilities, the emperor calls forward Cruz. Cruz begins a ritual, and suddenly, Noah's water skill leaps to SS rank, a level no one his age has ever reached. Everyone gasps in surprise. The emperor smiles with pride seeing the young prince's potential. The scene shifts to the Mir Empire, a prosperous kingdom rich in resources and culture, elevated high above the land. In the early morning, maids prepare Noah for the day. He notices something remarkable. His stats, as others see them, are enhanced by his subordinates. The S rank in water comes not only from him, but also from Amria, the thief assigned to him, and his loyal maids. Noah realizes, the more loyal followers he gains, the stronger he becomes. His power has no apparent limit as the maids finish their work, Evelyn remarks. "You look calm and composed, most boys your age are noisy, but you have a royal aura." At the dining table, Noah reflects, despite his intelligence, his abilities are still limited at age 6. Suddenly, Evelyn informs him that the crown prince and fourth prince are visiting. Noah politely excuses himself from breakfast to greet them immediately, showing respect and maturity beyond his years. The visiting princes present a gift, a massive sword called Leviathan, a magical water sword known as the strongest in the empire. Its aura is overwhelming. For a moment, Noah sees visions, people appearing, screaming, begging for help, then disappearing. Noah hesitates to hold it. The sword is heavy, dangerous, and can only be wielded safely by those with SS-level water harmony. Albert explains, 120 people have died trying to retrieve this sword. Only the worthy can wield it. Noah grips it firmly, proving his extraordinary talent. That night, Noah notices his maid Zoe is sad. After some urging, she reveals a tragic story. Her hometown was hit by a flood, destroying her family's farm. Her mother is now unemployed, and her relatives demand she find work immediately. Noah thinks quickly. He hires Zoe's mother at the palace, giving her a generous wage. He provides them a house on the outskirts of the capital. He instructs Dylan to buy flood-affected land to prevent exploitation by corrupt nobles. Even at 6 years old, Noah shows leadership, foresight, and compassion, protecting the innocent and using his intelligence to help others. Noah, Dylan, and Zoe travel to the affected area. Most homes are destroyed, records lost, and the terrain is dangerous. They disguise themselves and walk among the locals, eating humble food. Noah notices how poorly the Empire distributes aid. An official, Mr. Gallo, is taking bribes. Noah confronts him directly. Gallo attacks, but Noah summons Leviathan. The sword activates, its water power roaring to life. Noah strikes with precision, cutting Gallo down instantly. The people are stunned. Noah's actions demonstrate that true nobility is about protecting the weak and delivering justice. The captain of the knights, Rowan, arrives to acknowledge Noah's authority. Everyone bows as Noah commands the proper distribution of food. His brothers observe in awe. The sword, the respect, the intelligence, all suggest Noah is more capable than they realized. Later, the emperor calls Noah to the palace. He has learned about the land purchases and village acquisition. Noah's father praises him. "Thanks to your efforts, you prevented disaster after the flood. You have shown wisdom beyond your years." Finally, Noah's abilities are reassessed. He has reached SSS rank, confirming his status as a prodigy of the empire. The next day, Noah heads to a small local diner located on Raid Street. He's there looking for a street singer he's heard rumors about, someone who often performs at this place. After stepping inside, Noah finds an empty seat and quietly sits down, taking his time to observe the atmosphere of the diner. Not long after, a pink-haired girl walks forward and begins performing in front of the customers. As she sings, Noah recalls hearing about her before and remembers that her name is Alice. He listens carefully to her voice and immediately realizes that while her singing isn't bad, her technique still has plenty of room for improvement. Even so, Noah can tell that she takes singing very seriously. She isn't just performing for fun, she's genuinely trying to improve and survive through her talent. Suddenly, the calm atmosphere inside the diner is completely shattered when 3 rough-looking men burst through the door. They begin shouting loudly, drawing everyone's attention. The men confront Alice and angrily demand to know why she's wasting time singing instead of finding a better way to repay the debt her parents owe them. Hearing this, Alice shrinks back in fear as the men surround her. With a trembling voice, she explains that she doesn't yet have enough money to repay the debt, but insists that she's doing everything she can since she has no other way to earn money. The men then begin discussing what they call the second best way for a woman to repay a debt. The people inside the diner can only watch in shock and disgust, completely powerless to stop what's happening. Before the situation can escalate any further, Noah stands up from his seat. He walks toward the men and reminds them that, under imperial law, it is strictly forbidden to force a child to take responsibility for their parents' debts. The men scoff at him, brushing him off as nothing more than a spoiled and clueless brat. One of them suddenly grabs Noah by the shirt and prepares to attack him. In response, Noah instantly counters by unleashing the power of his Leviathan sword. The overwhelming force fills the room, shocking everyone present. Terrified by the strength Noah displays, the three men panic and immediately flee the diner before things can get any worse. Once the danger has passed, Noah turns back to Alice and speaks to her gently. He asks her how much money she needs each month to get by. She explains that most of her expenses go toward paying for her mother's medical treatment. After hearing this, Noah tells her that from now on, he will give her 25 rian every month so she can focus entirely on improving her singing. He also promises to increase her pay as her skills improve, encouraging her to continue pursuing her passion without fear. Deeply moved, Alice thanks Noah and tells him how grateful she is for everything he's done. She promises that she won't let him down and that she'll work hard to become a better singer. Later that evening, Noah returns home only to find the same three men kneeling in front of the palace gate. They bow their heads and beg for forgiveness. Noah quickly realizes that they must have finally figured out who he really is. Without meeting them, he calmly instructs the maids to send them away, explaining that the prince is not someone they can see whenever they please. Soon after, Noah's elder brother Henry arrives and agrees with Noah's decision. He explains that allowing people like that to meet royalty so easily would diminish the authority and dignity of the royal family. Noah then tells Henry that his decision wasn't just about preserving royal status. He explains what happened at the diner and adds that if he personally confronted the men, they would continue to fear him. That fear would keep them away from Alice, which is exactly what he wants. Henry is genuinely impressed by Noah's reasoning. Despite his young age, Noah was able to think several steps ahead, something even his other brothers wouldn't have considered. Changing the topic, Henry asks Noah about the Leviathan sword and whether the rumors about him mastering it are true. Noah confirms this and says it was only possible thanks to Henry's earlier advice. To prove it, Noah makes the Leviathan sword appear in front of him as if it emerged from thin air. Henry is completely stunned, having never known the sword was capable of such a technique. Noah explains that the sword didn't actually materialize from nothing. It had been hidden beneath his sleeve and expanded on command, since the sword has a will of its own. It was the Leviathan itself that taught him how to use this ability. Henry praises Noah, admitting he never imagined such a thing was possible. Later, outside the palace, the three men are still lingering nearby. When one of them spots Noah, he attempts to attack, but Noah releases a small amount of the Leviathan's power. The man immediately freezes in terror and apologizes. Noah explains to Henry that he simply intimidated them using the sword's aura. That evening, Noah attends a royal ball. As he enters the hall, the guests begin applauding him. A noble named Radok notices something at Noah's waist, and Noah confirms that he's carrying the Leviathan sword, which was gifted to him by the crown prince. The room gasps in shock, recognizing it as a national treasure said to be nearly impossible to control. Some guests assume the sword must be a fake, so Noah releases a small portion of its power. The overwhelming pressure forces everyone to accept the truth. For the rest of the event, nobles line up one after another just to introduce themselves to Noah. Among them are Brian Allen, the head of the Brian Company, and his daughter Cindy. After observing them closely, Noah deduces that Cindy is adopted and was once a slave. Shocked, Brian confirms this and explains that he adopted her after noticing her intelligence and talent. Noah is genuinely pleased and invites them to visit his mansion someday. The next day, Noah meets his brother Oscar, the 8th prince, who invites him on a treasure hunt to Cobalt Street. The area is known for antiques and counterfeits. After hours of searching, Noah buys a book that catches his attention. Oscar is stunned to realize it's the grimoire of the legendary sorcerer Andrea. Noah admits he bought it only because touching the book increased his stat. When he pours the Leviathan's energy into it, the sorcerer's soul materializes. Instead of fleeing, Noah strikes it down in a single slash, increasing his wind skill to SS rank. A merchant named Alan witnesses this and presents a mysterious ring. When Noah puts it on, it recognizes him as its owner and transforms into top-tier armor. Oscar buys it for Noah as a gift. Later, the ring automatically protects Noah from an ambush. That night, Noah returns to the diner, where trouble breaks out again. He sends the attackers flying and eventually buys the entire diner for 1,000 rand. He tells Alice that all he wants in return is for her to keep singing and pursue her dream. Noah sits back and quietly listens as Alice's voice fills the diner. The following morning, while Noah is getting dressed, one of the maids enters his room and informs him that a guest has arrived. The visitor is Dead Marley, the Governor-General of the Holjoy community. As soon as Noah hears the name, he immediately assumes the visit must be related to the fief under his authority. He tells the maid to allow Dead to come in while he finishes getting ready, assuring her that he will join the guest shortly. Within the royal family, it is a long-standing tradition for princes to be granted fiefs. This practice allows them to learn firsthand how governance and leadership function in real situations. Because of this custom, the people living within those territories tend to respect the prince, overseeing them almost as if he were their true monarch. Dead Marley is no exception to this belief. When Noah and Dead finally meet, they sit together and talk for a while about general matters. As the conversation progresses, Noah suddenly recalls that Dead had once received an imperial order to manage the flood control system in Holjoy. However, judging from the condition of the region's economy, Noah already suspects that things are probably not going well. Holjoy is a fertile land famous for producing large amounts of grain, located along the bend of a massive river. Despite its fertile soil, the region frequently suffers from severe flooding. These recurring disasters are the very reason the emperor appointed Dead, the leader of the Water Clan, to govern the area, hoping that he could bring stability and proper control to the land. Dead does not waste time with formalities. He openly admits that the region under his governance is far too poor to maintain the flood control operations. Because of this, he has come to request a loan from Noah. Noah finds this situation difficult to believe. Since the project was ordered directly by the emperor, it should have been properly funded from the start. Dead then reveals the troubling truth: the funds that were supposed to support the project were never actually delivered. According to him, the Ministry of Finance has been repeatedly delaying the payment, offering excuse after excuse whenever he asks about it. Hearing this, Noah immediately rises from his seat and escorts Dead straight to see Maverick, the Minister of Finance. Upon arriving, Noah demands an explanation for why the funds allocated for Holjoy have been delayed for so long. Maverick calmly responds that there is a perfectly reasonable explanation. He explains that Holjoy suffered severe flood damage the previous year, and because the emperor felt sympathy for the people there, he granted the region a tax exemption. Maverick argues that Holjoy should still have leftover tax money and should use that before requesting additional financial support. Noah instantly recognizes that this explanation is nonsense. His expression turns cold, and his voice becomes firm as he orders Maverick to stop lying and speak honestly. Maverick had never expected Noah to confront him so directly and is clearly shocked by the sudden shift in tone. After a moment of hesitation, he finally admits the truth. Even if he wanted to release the funds, he claims he cannot do so at the moment because the emperor is planning a vacation in a few months. Maverick believes it would be better for the emperor to spend his holiday in a cool countryside villa rather than the scorching capital, and arranging such a luxurious trip would require an enormous amount of money. Noah immediately sees through the excuse, recognizing it as nothing more than a typical embezzlement scheme. Without hesitation, he tells Maverick to distribute the funds to Holjoy immediately, warning him that if he refuses, Noah will personally report the matter to the emperor. At that moment, Maverick immediately begins groveling, begging Noah not to inform the emperor about what has happened. He quickly agrees to provide Holjoy with all the funding necessary for the flood control project. Dead watches the entire scene unfold in utter disbelief. He cannot believe that someone so young was able to make the powerful Minister of Finance grovel without even lifting a finger. From that moment onward, Dead develops a deep admiration for Noah and respects him more than ever. Afterward, Dead returns to Holjoy to begin implementing the flood control measures as quickly as possible. Not long after this meeting, a royal messenger arrives to inform Noah that the emperor has summoned him to the palace immediately. Noah answers the summons and kneels before the emperor, wondering what could have prompted such a sudden call. To his surprise, the emperor explains that he summoned Noah only to commend him for taking decisive action on behalf of Holjoy and for exposing Maverick's embezzlement. Noah accepts the praise, but he cannot help feeling puzzled about how the emperor already knew about the incident, considering everything had taken place less than 30 minutes earlier. The emperor then pats Noah gently on the head and tells him that what he accomplished today is truly remarkable for someone of his age. Noah is so surprised by the gesture that he even blushes slightly. The Emperor then brings up another impressive achievement of Noah's. He has successfully wielded the Leviathan sword, a weapon known for its dark and dangerous history. Seeing Noah's potential at such a young age, the Emperor even went as far as hiring the greatest swordsman in the Empire, Damien, to train him in the proper use of the weapon. Damien is widely regarded as the most skilled swordsman in the Empire, someone no one has ever managed to defeat. The Emperor believes Noah will gain tremendous knowledge under his guidance. Damien feels honored to receive such an important responsibility. However, before beginning the training, he decides to test Noah's current abilities so he can determine where to begin. The two immediately begin sparring. During the duel, Noah suddenly feels the memories and techniques of past Leviathan users flowing through him. Although he still possesses the physical strength of a child, he manages to execute the sword's technique flawlessly, disarming Damien in a single move. Damien then turns toward the Emperor, bows deeply, and apologizes. He admits that there is nothing more he can teach Noah, as the boy has already mastered the Leviathan technique well enough to defeat him. The Emperor bursts into laughter, praising Noah once again for his incredible talent. Impressed by his abilities, the Emperor then appoints Noah as the head judge for the upcoming knight selection exam, believing that no one else would be more suitable for the role. Noah steps forward and accepts the responsibility with a small smile. The knight selection exam is an annual event held across the entire empire. Since the empire values martial strength above all else, many people believe that the path of a warrior is the best way to achieve success and rise in status. In the exam, fighters who win the preliminary rounds in their respective regions travel to the capital for the final stage. The champion earns the prestigious title of knight and immediately enters the upper ranks of society, beginning their service under a head judge. Noah realizes that having a talented knight serving under him would greatly increase his own strength and influence. The Emperor then asks Noah how he plans to conduct the exam. Traditionally, the head judge must first decide whether the tournament will follow an elimination format or a round-robin system. However, Noah instead makes an unexpected request. He asks the Emperor to remove all regional preliminaries and hold the entire selection process in the capital. His reasoning is simple: the empire is far too large for him to personally observe the preliminaries in every region. Because of this, he fears that some strong candidates might be eliminated unfairly before he ever has the chance to see their abilities. The Emperor sees no problem with this proposal and tells Noah to proceed however he wishes. The following day, Noah learns that certain villages typically send only one candidate each year for the knight selection exam. He tells Zoe that they can now send as many candidates as they want since the regional preliminaries have been removed. However, Zoe explains that the villages limit themselves to one participant because they simply cannot afford the travel and lodging expenses required to attend the exam in the capital. Not wanting talented fighters to miss their chance due to poverty, Noah decides to cover all travel expenses himself. He calls Dylan over and orders him to purchase every vacant house in the capital so they can be used as dormitories for the incoming candidates. As for food, Dylan is instructed to contact several merchants and arrange regular deliveries to support the large number of participants. Later that day, Noah meets with Byron, the merchant responsible for supplying goods. When Noah reviews the bill, he immediately finds it suspicious because it is far lower than expected. Byron claims the reduced price is simply a discount offered out of respect for the 13th prince of the empire. However, Noah quickly realizes that this explanation is not genuine. Assuming Byron must want something in return, Noah directly asks what it is. Byron is astonished that someone so young was able to see through the situation so easily. He then explains that there is a palace employment exam held on a similar scale as the knight selection exam, and he was hoping Noah might share some insight into what kind of people would be selected. From the conversation, Noah quickly understands that Byron wishes to place a girl inside the palace. He understands the reasoning behind the request. Having someone inside the palace would allow Byron to obtain important information about future events and political changes. Noah agrees to the request, but only under one condition: he must personally approve the girl who will be sent to the palace. Byron assures him that Noah will certainly like the candidate he has chosen. He then bows deeply before the prince. As a gesture of admiration, Byron also promises to display his family crest on his store sign. Noah accepts this, but he firmly warns Byron that he will never tolerate betrayal. On the ride home, Noah suddenly notices something strange. Accepting Byron as a subordinate has caused one of his stats to increase. However, after a short time, he realizes that another stat has decreased instead. This immediately makes him uneasy. He begins to suspect that something might have happened in Almeria. Concerned, Noah tells Zoe that he must see the Emperor immediately. When Noah appears before the Emperor, he explains that he has sensed changes within the Empire. However, judging by his father's calm reaction, it almost seems as if the Emperor already knows about the situation. The Emperor then reveals the truth: a rebellion has broken out in Almeria. Upon hearing this, Noah realizes that his stat dropped from SS to S. However, because the decrease occurred in a unique way, he assumes that the rebellion must be relatively small in scale. The Emperor confirms his assumption, explaining that approximately 5,000 rebels have been identified, all within Noah's fief. He then asks Noah how he intends to deal with them. Noah hesitates before answering honestly. Since he is still young and inexperienced in real combat, he believes it would be impossible for him to handle the situation alone. He is also uncertain whether the soldiers would even obey his commands. Because of this, Noah suggests that the task should instead be given to his older brother, Henry, who is far more capable of leading troops in battle. The Emperor respects Noah's decision and orders that Henry be summoned immediately. About an hour later, Noah and Henry leave the palace together in a carriage. Henry is surprised that Noah willingly gave up such an opportunity, since successfully suppressing the rebellion could have greatly benefited his future reputation. Suddenly, the Leviathan sword senses danger. Noah immediately orders the carriage to stop. He quickly realizes that the attackers are targeting him specifically and decides that he cannot allow his brother to get involved. Stepping outside the carriage, Noah is immediately struck by several water-based attacks. Fortunately, he manages to raise a shield in time and protect himself. The rebels reveal themselves and rush toward him. However, Noah effortlessly cuts them down with the Leviathan sword, ending the battle swiftly and efficiently. After inspecting their bodies, Noah discovers something suspicious. The attackers were cavalry soldiers. But Almeria does not possess any war horses. This realization tells him that something far more complicated is happening behind the rebellion. The following day, Noah meets with Byron again and explains the situation regarding the rebels and the cavalry. He gives Byron 10,000 rand and orders him to buy up the entire supply of horse feed. Noah reasons that since war horses are not commercially sold or bred, the rebels must be stealing horse feed from civilians. If the supply of feed suddenly disappears, the rebels will be forced to steal it from military sources instead, exposing their activities. Byron immediately understands the brilliance of the plan and stands up at once to put it into action. As Noah looks up at the ceiling, he feels confident that this strategy will make things far easier for his brother when the time comes to confront the rebels.
The following morning, Noah kneels respectfully before the Emperor. The Emperor explains that the rebels who attacked recently were planning to kidnap Noah and use him as a bargaining chip against the Empire. Hearing this, Noah quietly thinks about the situation. Something about the explanation feels strange to him. If the rebels truly confess that easily, then there must be parts of the story they are hiding. Noah calmly tells the Emperor that he believes the rebels are lying about something. To his surprise, the Emperor simply nods and admits that Noah is correct. However, he tells him not to worry. The Empire has its own ways of confirming the truth from prisoners, and by that he means torture. Noah doesn't know much about torture methods, so he simply accepts his father's words and decides not to question it further. Putting that matter aside, the Emperor then begins praising Noah for something else entirely. He congratulates Noah for coming up with the clever idea of buying up all the horse feed in the region. By doing this, Noah effectively crippled the rebels' transportation and movement. When Noah hears this, he is shocked. He had only made the decision to purchase the horse feed not long ago, so how did the Emperor find out so quickly? The Emperor simply steps forward and pats Noah on the shoulder. He tells him that both Noah's intelligence and his ability to act quickly are impressive qualities. These are the clear signs of someone who will one day become a great leader. Noah blushes slightly from the praise and thanks the Emperor respectfully. Seeing this, the Emperor decides that Noah deserves a reward. After thinking for a moment, he makes a surprising announcement. He declares that Noah will be granted the right to add a sword to his family crest. The moment Noah hears this, his eyes widen in shock. In the Empire, adding a sword to one's crest is considered one of the greatest honors possible. Normally, doing something like that without the Emperor's permission would be treated as sacrilege and could even lead to execution. But when the Emperor himself grants permission, it becomes a symbol of special recognition and honor. Feeling deeply moved, Noah bows his head and thanks the Emperor with sincere gratitude. Later that day, Noah meets with Byron to receive an update on the horse feed operation. After discussing the progress, Byron brings up an important name: Karun, the leader of the rebel forces. According to Byron, Karun is an extremely stubborn and determined man who will do anything to achieve his goals. Byron believes Noah is capable of handling him, but he still warns him to be cautious. Noah senses that Byron might be hinting at something deeper, but before he can ask further questions, a maid suddenly enters the room. She reports that a wounded soldier has arrived at the main gate and claims he has urgent news for Noah. Without wasting any time, Noah heads to the gate. There, he finds a badly injured soldier kneeling before him. The soldier introduces himself and explains that he came directly from Almeria. According to him, several commanders in the region have started a rebellion. He explains that he personally refused to join the uprising and instead risked his life to travel here and deliver this warning to Noah. Byron quickly realizes that this information isn't particularly useful, since Noah already knows about the rebellion. However, Noah still thanks the soldier sincerely. He orders the maids to take the injured man inside and give him proper treatment. On top of that, Noah rewards the soldier with 1,000 ren for delivering the message. Afterward, Noah calmly walks away. Confused, Byron follows him and asks why he gave such a large reward for information that wasn't even necessary. Noah explains his reasoning calmly. Even though the information wasn't useful, the fact that a simple soldier risked his life to report directly to him shows true loyalty. Loyalty like that deserves to be recognized and rewarded. Hearing this, Byron begins to understand Noah's way of thinking as a leader. Later that evening, Noah is busy working through paperwork in his office when Zoe nervously enters the room. She tells him that earlier that day, a stranger offered her 500 ren to secretly give Noah a drink that contained a sleeping drug. The moment Noah hears this, he immediately understands the rebels' plan. They intend to drug him, abduct him, and use him as a hostage. Even so, he is still surprised they would go to such lengths. Noah then asks Zoe an important question. Why did she come to him instead of accepting the money? Zoe quickly shakes her head and says she would never betray him, especially not after everything Noah has done to help her mother. Hearing this, Noah quietly writes something on a check and hands it to her. It is a reward of 5,000 ren. She deserves 10 times that amount for her loyalty. Zoe is shocked by the amount and tries to refuse, saying it's far too much. But Noah insists. In his eyes, loyalty should always be rewarded. With tears in her eyes, Zoe bows deeply and thanks him again and again. However, Noah isn't finished yet. He tells Zoe that he has another request for her. Noah explains his plan. He intends to drink the drug on purpose and pretend to fall asleep. Once he is captured, Zoe must allow the kidnappers to take him away, but after they leave, she must run away and hide immediately. Noah knows that if she stays around, the rebels might try to silence her. Even though the plan is extremely dangerous, Zoe agrees to help him. Later that night, the plan is carried out. When Noah wakes up, he finds himself tied up in the back of a moving wagon. Fortunately for him, the kidnappers made a huge mistake. They failed to take away his Leviathan ring. Using the ring, Noah quickly cuts the ropes binding his hands and feet. After freeing himself, he asks Leviathan to show him the memories of what happened after he lost consciousness. Through these memories, he sees exactly how the rebels infiltrated the mansion and abducted him. Now fully aware of the situation, Noah decides it is time to act. When the rebels notice him standing up in the wagon, they don't take him seriously. After all, they believe he is just a helpless child. But the moment one of them approaches, Noah instantly draws the Leviathan and cuts him down. For a brief moment, the other bandits freeze in shock. Then they rush him together, believing their numbers will give them the advantage. But Noah completely overwhelms them. Within moments, every last one of them is defeated. Shortly after the fight ends, Zoe arrives with a search party. When Noah sees her, he immediately scolds her for coming out to find him when he specifically told her to hide. Zoe lowers her head and apologizes. She explains that she was too worried about him to stay hidden. Seeing her sincerity, Noah sighs and forgives her, though he warns her not to do something so reckless again. As the soldiers begin collecting the bodies, one of them reaches for a dagger lying on the ground. Suddenly Noah shouts at him to stop. He orders everyone to step back. Walking closer, Noah examines the dagger carefully. He can sense an intense amount of malicious energy coming from it. He quickly realizes that the weapon is cursed with deep hatred by its previous owner. Judging from the energy it carries, Noah suspects that it once belonged to the leader of the rebels. Using Leviathan, Noah focuses on the dagger's lingering energy signature. Then he launches a long-range attack that travels across vast distances, tracking the rebel leader's presence. In an instant, the attack reaches its target and kills the rebel leader on the spot. The rebellion is effectively over. The next day, Noah meets with the Emperor once again. The Emperor praises Noah for accomplishing such an incredible feat, something very few people could ever do. With the rebel leader dead, the rebel forces quickly collapse. Prince Henry soon suppresses the remaining rebels, and everyone involved in the uprising is arrested. Now it is time for judgment. After reviewing the case, the Emperor initially decides that the traitors should be drawn and quartered. The court celebrates this decision, believing it to be a fitting punishment, but suddenly Noah steps forward. He respectfully tells the Emperor that this may not be the wisest decision. The entire courtroom falls silent. Noah explains that the punishment must follow imperial law exactly. According to the law, the leaders of the rebellion must be cut in half at the waist, while the participants must be hanged. If the Emperor were to ignore his own laws, it could weaken the authority of the empire itself. After hearing this reasoning, the Emperor realizes Noah is correct. He immediately revises his judgment and orders that the traitors be punished strictly according to imperial law. Impressed by Noah's wisdom and courage, the Emperor decides to grant him a special title. From this day forward, Noah will be known as the Wise Prince. This is an unprecedented honor, something that has never been given before. The court erupts into cheers as Noah's new title spreads throughout the empire. Not long after, the Emperor reminds Noah that the upcoming knight selection exam is approaching. When asked how he plans to evaluate the candidates, Noah demonstrates his idea. Using his protection ring, he blocks water thrown at him by servants. During the exam, the candidates will attack him in a similar way, allowing him to judge their strength, control, and potential. The Emperor is impressed by the creativity of the method, though he warns that it could be dangerous if someone powerful breaks through Noah's defenses. Noah calmly reassures him that he has already prepared countermeasures. That night, the Emperor meets privately with the Prime Minister, Noel. Inside the inner chamber, he orders a servant to bring out the true seal of Leviathan. For generations, it has been said that this seal must never be broken. But after witnessing Noah's incredible talent and potential, the Emperor begins to wonder, what would happen if the seal of Leviathan were finally broken? And what kind of power might Noah awaken if that day ever comes?
The day of the knight selection exam has arrived. Commoners from every corner of the empire, farmers, merchants, travelers, all gathering to witness the next generation of knights. But this year, the crowd was larger than usual. Word had spread fast. Noah, the wise prince, would be one of the judges. And when Noah is involved, people know something worth watching is about to happen. On stage, Noah sits composed and unbothered, quietly sipping his tea as candidates line up to face him. His method of testing is simple, his defense ring. Any candidate who can break through the barrier it generates earns his attention. Anyone who can't, well, the exam speaks for itself. The first candidate doesn't waste time. He charges at Noah without warning, sword already swinging, but the defense ring reacts instantly. A shimmering shield materializes and absorbs the blow cleanly. The candidate slashes again and again. Each strike meets the same immovable wall. The crowd watches in stunned silence. Up in the stands, the Emperor watches with quiet satisfaction. He acknowledges that this year's exam is certainly more interesting than the last. But he doesn't let himself get too swept up in the spectacle. The real purpose here is to find worthy knights, and he's curious to see exactly what kind of people his son is going to choose. As the sun begins to set, the exam continues. One candidate pours every last drop of his mana into a blazing flame attack, a desperate, all-or-nothing move. Noah doesn't even flinch. He raises a barrier, the heat dies at its edge, and moments later the candidate collapses to the ground, completely drained. Noah glances out at the remaining line and sighs inwardly. No one has come close to impressing him. Not a single person has managed to break through. He reminds himself that the last candidate of the day is coming up next, and he doesn't really expect much to change. Then a blonde-haired girl steps forward. She raises her sword, steadies her stance, and strikes. The shield catches the blow, same as it's caught every other blow today. But then something happens that no one in that arena could have predicted. The shield cracks. Her sword drives through, and she lightly wounds Noah. The entire arena goes silent. Noah himself is visibly stunned. It's written all over his face. The guards snap into action immediately, seizing the girl and restraining her before she can move another inch. But Noah raises his hand. He says let her go. He looks at her and asks for her name. Shirley Grants, she replies. Then he announces Shirley Grants has passed the exam. The crowd erupts in disbelief. She's the only one who passed and she's the one who just wounded him. The guards themselves are bewildered, quietly praising their prince for his extraordinary generosity. But Noah isn't being generous. Noah brings Shirley back to his mansion. She kneels before him, her hand steady but her mind racing. She knows that wounding a prince, even by accident, carries consequences. She braces for punishment. Instead, Noah smiles and tells her not to worry about it. It was clearly an accident. And then he asks her to do it again. Shirley hesitates for just a moment, then rises and drives her sword toward him. This time, the shield holds. It doesn't crack or budge. Noah explains that he could have blocked her the first time. He chose not to. He wanted to see whether she would follow orders without hesitation, even if it meant striking a prince. Because that is what a knight must be able to do. A knight who holds back out of fear is no knight at all. The fact that Shirley struck him honestly, twice, without flinching, that tells him everything he needs to know about her character. Shirley stares at him. He's 6 years old, and he speaks with the kind of clarity that most adults spend a lifetime trying to reach. Without another word, she drops to one knee and pledges her allegiance. She swears to serve him faithfully, for as long as she carries the title of knight. Just then, Zoe enters to announce that the doctor, a man named Croy, has arrived. Croy examines Noah's wound and says it's nothing serious. Shirley watches the examination with an almost childlike curiosity. Noah notices. He asks her about it, and Shirley explains that back in her village, there are no doctors at all. When someone falls ill, the village elder performs prayers and rituals. Noah listens, thinks for a moment, and then he tells Shirley to find the most capable people from her village, the sharpest minds, the most dedicated. He then instructs Croy to take them on as apprentices, so that one day, they can become real doctors themselves. And when Shirley begins to worry about the cost, Noah stops her and says he will cover it all himself. Shirley bows, there are no words adequate for what she's feeling. Shirley spends the night at the mansion and wakes up the next morning fired up and ready for the day ahead. As she makes her way downstairs, she passes a couple of maids mid-gossip, the topic being which lucky woman might one day marry Noah. Zoe quickly shuts the conversation down, pointing out that Noah is 6 years old. But the maid Renee isn't having it, reminding her that every other prince was married by 15. The maid Rihanna, reading between the lines, jumps to a rather entertaining conclusion that Zoe's recent dedication to studying magic must mean she's secretly in love with Noah and is preparing herself for him. Zoe sputters, goes red, and clarifies that her studies are about being useful to Noah, nothing more, nothing less. She walks off in a huff, and Shirley watches her go, quietly impressed. Meanwhile, the night selection results come in. Only the best candidates were chosen. The kingdom's future is in capable hands, and that matters more to him than most people realize. To mark the occasion, Noah organizes a small celebration. He invites his old friend Alicia to perform, and he makes sure Byron is there too, surrounded by the very merchants connected to the royal family, giving him every opportunity to build his network. It's a celebration, yes, but Noah being Noah, every detail has a purpose. Then Zoe delivers a letter. No sender. No name. The person who dropped it off ran the moment it left their hands. Noah places his hand on the hilt of his sword and waits. Leviathan shows no reaction. The letter is safe. Inside is a warning, unsettling movements among the remnants of the Almrian rebels. The message is vague, but Noah pieces it together quickly. The person who sent this has gone undercover to investigate. And Noah recognizes the intent immediately, it's that soldier from before. The one who came to him with warnings about the rebellion. Zoe agrees. But Noah's expression turns grim. That's exactly the problem. The man has no training for this. No cover, no plan, no backup. He's going to get himself killed. Noah moves to inform his brother Henry so the situation can be contained before it spirals. But the next morning, it's already too late. Word reaches Noah that the soldier was exposed. He was captured and tortured. The only reason he's alive is because Henry's unit managed to pull him out in time. Noah blames himself. He should have recognized sooner what that man was about to do. The soldier stayed silent under torture, refused to give up a single piece of information, and Noah can't decide whether to be moved or devastated by that. He knows the truth, no information is worth what that man went through. Noah tells Zoe to pass word to Henry's unit, spare no expense on the soldier's recovery. Whatever it costs, they pay it. He can't afford to lose someone like that. The next day, Noah heads out with Shirley to find a gift for Henry, a thank you for handling the rebellion. They stop at a nearby antique shop. Noah browses through display after display of fine, expensive things, and none of it holds his attention. Then he spots something draped in a cloth, tucked to the side. He asks the merchant to uncover it. The cloth falls away to reveal a breathtaking glass sculpture of a goddess, the work of the legendary artisan Lindsay. Only 2 of these exist in the entire world. Noah studies it for a moment, then pays 10,000 reen. Then the door opens and Prince Oscar walks in. He stops and looks at the sculpture, then looks at Noah. And he sighs. Oscar explains that he already owns the other Lindsay sculpture and has been searching for the second one for ages to complete the set. And Noah, naturally, has just beaten him to it. Without a word, Noah walks back to the sculpture and destroys it. Everyone freezes. The merchant looks like he might faint. But Noah turns to him calmly and confirms that the full payment will still be delivered. Oscar stares for a second and then it clicks. He starts to laugh. With only one sculpture remaining in existence, its value has just doubled. The piece Oscar already owns is now worth twice what it was worth an hour ago. Noah didn't destroy a treasure, he created one. Oscar shakes his head in admiration. As they leave the shop, Noah notices Shirley has gone quiet. He asks her to speak her mind. She admits that while the move was undeniably brilliant, she was startled by it. Destroying something so beautiful, so rare, it didn't sit easily with her. Noah pauses and looks at her. He says, that sculpture wasn't the real treasure. It was just an object. He tells her that the real treasures are people. People who dedicate themselves wholeheartedly, who stay loyal when loyalty is costly, who give everything they have to something greater than themselves. Those people, that is what's truly precious. Shirley feels something settle in her heart. She'd read about leaders like this in history books, the kind who existed more as myth than reality. She vows, quietly and completely, to serve him for the rest of her life. Noah glances ahead. Good. I plan on collecting more treasures like that. And just like that, 6 years pass. The boy who once sat calmly sipping tea while candidates hurled themselves at his barrier has grown. Noah is 12 now, taller and sharper, already carrying the weight of an empire on his shoulders. As he prepares to set out on his next chapter, the maids and royal servants line up to see him off.